Today, chapter 13 of Shmuel base, Samuel 2. And we were talking about the story of the fact that Avshalom had run away to his grandfather, his mother's father, who wasn't Jewish, the king of Geshur. And it had to do with the fact that he had killed Amnon, his half-brother, and he basically wanted to find some refuge, at least for the time being, until he comes up with his next plan. And he ends up going to this country, and at least according to one of the opinions, is he was traveling around in that country, and then he realized that he better stay put because he is in a dangerous situation. His brothers might, his siblings might try to avenge his blood, his brother's blood, or his grandfather David. I'm sorry, his father David might try to. His father David might, send someone after him. So basically, he is in Geshur, and he is he's trying to basically play everything low and hanging out there. Now, at the same time, the last verse of chapter 13 is that David somehow he is consoled over Amnon, and he longs for Avshalom. Now, it's a little unclear what he longs for. Does he long to punish him? Does he long to have a relationship with him? Is he just worried about him? So he doesn't seem to want to do anything about it. So that's where it seems that David is maybe unsure of what the best path is. So again, it's a very delicate situation. On the one hand, if he takes Avshalom, if he invites Avshalom to come back, does he really want Avshalom to come back? Avshalom is a murderer. He murdered his brother. Maybe that wouldn't be called in cold blood. In other words, his brother was a rapist, but was he a murderer? Did he deserve the death penalty? So there is this. So Amnon, he did something very bad, but Avshalom, he murdered him. That maybe is reason that he would not want him back. Maybe it's better that he stay. On the other hand, it's his son, and he's also hanging out with the wrong people there, and he's not keeping. It's one thing when a person does a criminal act and it's done and over, but he's living there and possibly living a lifestyle, a non-Jewish lifestyle as well, or is he's slowly becoming assimilated to the way of life of the Geshur people. So at the same time, also, David, it's his son. Maybe he feels some type of a closeness that he really would like his son to be with him, and maybe should overlook the fact that there was a criminal act that was wrong, but that doesn't mean that Avshalom is a through and through evil. He was angry. He was taking revenge for something that was not appropriate, and he did this criminal act. But maybe now he is, he's gotten rid of that anger, and he's maybe okay. So David it's a little unclear from the verse what David really wants to do. And we see in the next chapter, we'll see that Yoav wants to work things out. And Yoav comes up with a whole plan of how David should bring back Avshalom to the palace, or to the, at least to Jerusalem. And Yoav obviously understands that maybe this is better for David. In other words, David has this issue of bringing Avshalom back, and Yoav finds a way to convince David that this maybe will comfort David to be able to have Avshalom back. Maybe David is seemingly in a state of worriedness, anxiety, feels maybe depressed. There's something going on with David, as we see in the last verse of 39, that the soul of King David pined for Avshalom. So there's something going on with David's emotional health, and Yoav feels that he's trying to fix that, heal that, and he wants to somehow bring Avshalom back to Jerusalem. So verse 1 of chapter 14 is Yoav, the son of Tzruya, Yoav, who's the son of David's wife, the son of David's sister Tzruya, perceived that the king's heart was set on Avshalom. Yoav saw this. So Yoav sent to Tekoa and brought a wise woman from there. And what that means is that the people of Tekoa were wise. Why were they wise? So it says that the Tekoa was a place where they used to get the oil for the menorah, for the temple menorah. They got oil from Tekoa. Tekoa was like the best oil. So it says because they had that oil, special oil there, it somehow had a positive effect on the intellect. I mean, mute everyone. It had a positive effect on people's intellect, and it caused people that came from Tekoa to be very wise. And it's interesting, in the morning we learned about the water of Chidekel caused people to be wise. Imagine if you could have the water of Chidekel and the oil of Tekoa, then you'd really be an Einstein. But anyway, so the people of Tekoa were wise. So Yoav needed someone, and this is really he needed an actress. He needed someone who's going to be an expert in drama and put on a little play in front of David HaMelech and present a situation which is fictitious, but it's going to bring out a point that's going to be a parable that'll cause David to give a verdict, and that verdict will then make David aware of what he should do in his situation. So it's like giving David a parable that David believes is a true story, and now David is going to realize, oh, then I guess I better do the same thing, because that story is really the story of my life. So it's like telling someone a story, and then they wake up and realize that this is really, they're talking about themselves. Now, this is very connected to Yom Kippur, actually, because the way it works on Yom Kippur is that we sort of sign our own verdicts. Well, how do we sign our own verdict? When we judge others, we're actually judging ourselves, because very often what happens is Hashem puts in front of our eyes a story that we ourselves are guilty of. And then when we make a judgment against that person that we see, then all of a sudden Satan shows heaven, look, this is what this person says about someone who does that, he's basically saying it about himself. There's a statement in the prayers, the hand of each person signs it. It's like we sign our own judgments, because when we look at other people's actions and we judge them, it causes a lot of times that judgment is really us. We're really looking into ourselves and our own situation, our own actions that we've done. Yes, David.
So how does that go together with a person judging themselves? A person's judging, making a judgment on themselves. They did something wrong and they're part of tshuva. So a person is making a judgment on themselves without making a judgment on other people. How does that mesh together?
The truth is, I'm not sure exactly what you're asking. I was saying that if you judge someone else, it's not a good idea because often that ends up being a judgment on yourself. So I'm not sure what you're saying.
Right. So I'm saying that part of tshuva is making a judgment. The judgment is on yourself in order to improve yourself. So
judgment, what you're saying is you have to evaluate where you're holding to know what you did wrong. What we're saying, which is right, which is you have to know your situation. You have to think about your actions of the year, but it's not giving a verdict on yourself. It's more knowing what you've done throughout the year. But judging someone is sort of giving a verdict on this is deserving of that person deserved, for doing such a thing that's equal to murder. I can't believe so and so did such a thing. When you give a verdict on someone else, so that there's like the punishment you're sort of bringing upon yourself, and that's the chosem yad kol adam by. There is such a concept of true making sure not to judge people, or if someone is did something that could be looked at in different ways, and you judge them as if they did it for the wrong reason, and you judge them unfavorably. Yes, Susan.
I understand.
I think my parents taught me if I was critical of somebody, of something that somebody did or the way they acted, more than likely I have that trait. And I need to check myself first. That if somebody talks too much and that they boast too much, I better look at my own actions, because maybe I'm also the one. In other words, we judge other people. We look at people's traits, and sometimes we have the same traits and we don't realize it.
Right. Famous saying of the Baal Shem Tov, that what you see when you see something in someone else, it's really you're seeing the reason why it's bothering you, because you have it in yourself.
Right.
It's like a mirror. Every person is like a mirror.
Exactly.
But what I was emphasizing is that you're actually giving a verdict. You're really judging the person. You're taking it a step further, and then it's like you're giving a verdict on yourself. But that's correct. What you said is correct. Okay, so the story is this. So Yoav gets this wise woman from Tekoa, and he tells her, he said to her, if you please pretend to be a mourner. In other words, you present yourself as if you're mourning over the loss of your husband. Wear garments of mourning and do not anoint yourself with oil, and do these things which we learn different laws about mourning from this, that you see here, that there is that a mourner is not allowed to anoint themselves with oil. Be this way for many days, like a woman mourning over a dead person. Then come before the king and speak these words to him. And Yoav put the words into her mouth, and he told her what to say. Now, obviously, he couldn't know for sure what the king is going to tell her, because he's not a prophet, Yoav. So he has to give her the general answers to what he expects the king to ask, but he needs her to be a wise woman, because you never know what questions are gonna come her way, and she's gonna have to come up with a fast answer on the spot. Yes, Mordechai.
Yeah, this is in Tekoa. Well, it says he tells her not to anoint herself with oil. Wasn't Tekoa supposed to have been like the oil capital of Israel?
So that's what I was mentioning, that it had the best oil. It wasn't just a lot of oil. It was a very special place of oil, correct. And that's why they were wise. That the reason he wanted someone from Tekoa was because the people from Tekoa were very wise people.
Right, and I think
the reason they were wise is from the oil.
Right. Didn't it also play something in the Hanukkah story? I guess they had to get the oil from Tekoa.
From Tekoa, that's right. That's why it would have taken many days, 8 days to get new. It would take 8 days to get new oil, because they had to travel there to get to get the olives from there. So the verses continues and says that the Tekoite woman spoke to the king. So it doesn't tell us exactly what Yoav's wording was to her, but we see from the dialogue between this Tekoa woman and the king what Yoav basically had told her, the gist of what he had told her. So the Tekoite woman spoke to the king as she fell on her face to the ground, prostrated herself. She said, "Save me, O king." The king said to her, "What problem do you have?" Now, one of the things we see here is that the king involved himself with personal matters with anyone, people who put in a request. The king would give an audience to people and try to help them out. And this is basically what we're seeing here. Some woman who was a widow that no relationship with the king, wasn't connected in any way. She simply had a request, and king made himself available to her. Yes, David.
Is the root of the word Tekoa connected with tekiah?
I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know where Tekoa is. Maybe Ben, do you know where it is in Israel, Tekoa?
You're muted, Ben.
Yeah, you're muted. We didn't hear you, Ben.
I think it's up north. I'm not sure where.
Yeah, I don't know if it's connected to the word. So in any event, the king asked her, what's the issue? What's going on? So she said, "In truth, I am a widowed woman. My husband has died. Your maidservant had 2 sons. The 2 of them quarreled in the field, and there was no rescuer between them. One struck the other and killed him. Now, behold, the entire family rose up against your maidservant and said, 'Hand over the one who struck down his brother, and we shall put him to death for the life of his brother whom he murdered, and we shall also destroy this heir.' They would thus extinguish my last remaining coal, not leaving for my husband a name and a remnant on the face of the earth." This is a very interesting question of what to do. On the one hand, one brother killed the other one, deserves the death penalty, but there were no witnesses. But they want, at least in a sense of the avenger of the blood, to the relatives want me to give over this other son so that they could avenge his blood. And this way it would allow maybe his brother to that his soul will be at peace, that his soul was avenged, his body, his life was avenged, and this was what the people wanted. Now, of course, the mother, not of course, but the mother was unsure. Well, not unsure. She definitely wanted her son to live, and the reason she wanted her son to live was because she felt he's the only heir. Now, this is a really an ethical question, because I mean, I'm sure different parents of criminals have these type of sometimes get themselves involved inside. They get themselves. Sometimes they find themselves in such scenarios where they're not sure. Do they want to have a relationship with their child who's a criminal, and what type of criminal? You know, what level of a criminal? But here, she adds in 2 points. One is that the rescuer, there was no rescuer between them. What she's hinting to is that the one killed the other. He was not warned, so he doesn't deserve the death penalty. There was no rescuer. And number 2, no one tried to make peace between them. So he didn't even have time to maybe there was no one who was able to calm him down. That's what it seems like. And additionally, if there was another person that would have been there, he would have stopped the fight, but there wasn't. Now, so what does this mean? That there was actually a fight going on before him. There was some fight, which means that the first brother might have wanted to kill this brother, and this brother saved his life by killing the first brother. So we don't know if he's really guilty of the death penalty, because he might have killed his brother in self-defense, because his brother might have wanted to kill him. So it's not a clear-cut case of someone deserving of the death penalty, because he might have killed his brother in self-defense, because there was a fight, right? There was a quarrel. They quarreled in the field. So it could be that the brother went to kill him. He struck him back and ended up killing the first brother. There's no witnesses. And then she emphasizes this fact that they want to kill the inheritor. Now, what does that mean? They want to kill the inheritor. It means, very sadly, that what they want is they want the money. They want to inherit. They want the inheritance. That's why they want to avenge the blood. They're not really interested in avenging the blood for this holy reason. They want to avenge the blood because they're looking for an inheritance here. So they figure, let's give us him. We'll kill him according to law, so to speak. He deserves the death penalty, and then we'll be able to split we'll be able to get the inheritance. So she's giving a very strong case why, even though someone killed someone else, maybe they shouldn't have, they shouldn't be subject to death. That's what she's really giving the scenario, where even if one person kills another, and what she's trying to bring out is, even though Avshalom killed Amnon, you shouldn't look at Avshalom as someone who deserves the death penalty and kick him out of make him disinherit him, have nothing to do with him, and have him have to live with the Geshurites. You should invite him back. That's basically what she's getting at. Yes, Ben.
As I'm reading it, I'm thinking maybe she's also trying to save Avshalom's mother, because she's saying she's in danger, and I think she represents Avshalom's mother. She's talking about her son.
So what do you mean?
So maybe she's representing also Avshalom's mother.
And what would that mean? Why is Avshalom's mother in danger?
Well, since Avshalom killed somebody, maybe David would be mad at Avshalom's mother too. Thinking maybe she's involved too.
Well, that's an interesting thought. The problem is it doesn't really hint much about that. Like at the beginning of the
She keeps
chapter,
saying, that she's in danger.
right?
She's in danger.
Well,
From a man. She's in danger from a man.
Well,
and the man she's talking about is David.
Well, the way I would see it, if you want to if you want to say it in that way, it would be like the mother of Avshalom. It will have no heir if Avshalom gets the death penalty.
Right.
The problem is Avshalom already has 4 kids.
Yeah.
And so he does have heirs.
But still, maybe David might think maybe she's protecting her daughter too, I mean, the mother of Avshalom. Because it's her daughter that got raped. So she's involved kind of in the story.
No, I hear what you're saying. I just don't see it really fitting. So, but interesting thought. Definitely an interesting thought. Yes, Anna.
From what I understand, she presented as a situation that did not have any witnesses. But where was her stories coming from? Well, how did she know that she saw people fighting, that she saw people who were demanding money instead of just, trying to punish a person as a revenge? It's all kind of very odd circumstances that are really not fitting in the story very clearly. Someone has to witness that.
You have to understand that it is a fictitious story.
Right.
But David seems to believe it. And, and that's why Yoav had this woman from Tekoa who was very wise and very capable of making it look very real. He wanted her to wear the clothing of a mourner, to look very sad, to cry, to really. And what we really see here is, why didn't David catch on? Because David was so empathetic. He put himself into the shoes of the underdog, or of the person who's suffering, and he really felt so bad for that person that he was able to sort of like be gullible almost and believe that the story is real, because he felt.
But at the end, he gets the hang of it.
David is not.
He's a smart man.
He's very smart. There's no question about that. Yeah. But he being so empathetic, it allowed him to not judge this person that they're lying, and in any event, it wasn't like he was angry that they brought this parable. He probably was impressed that with the parable as well. It was an interesting parable to try to bring about an interesting point. Although it is sad that it had a very bad ending, this story, which we'll read about later in the book of Shmuel, but it was at least there was a plan on Yoav's part, it seems, that this should be beneficial to David and bring him some type of peace. That was the hope. So we're holding here that the verse number 8, the king said to the woman, "Go home, and I will issue a command concerning you, so you shouldn't have to worry that they're going to avenge the blood of your son. So don't worry, you go home. I'm going to make sure." And the woman of Tekoa said to the king, verse 9, the woman of Tekoa said to the king, "The sin will be upon me and upon my father's family, my lord the king. The king and his throne are innocent." Now, what she's saying here is it's a euphemism, because really she means to say the king will be guilty if he doesn't protect more than just saying that he's going, don't worry, everything's going to be good. She's actually she wants to say that the king and his throne will be guilty if they don't actually commit and promise. If the king doesn't make a promise and he doesn't really follow through with this, it's going to be on his shoulders. And she doesn't want to say those words because that's inappropriate. So she says it in a way that she's hinting it. She says, I and my family, my father's family, the sin will be upon me and my father's family, my lord the king. And the king and his throne are innocent, but she's really hinting to that point. And we'll have to continue this story after our break, after Yom Kippur. So I want to wish all of you a Gmar Chasima Tova. Should be sealed for a really good year. Mitzvah Hashem. We should all have an easy fast. And I'll hand over the mic to Rabbi Wernick.
Thank you, Rabbi. Gmar Chasima Tova, everybody.
Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Rabbi. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.